Hello and welcome to this edition of the Power Circuit program, brought to you by the Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN. This utility company will continue to keep you informed about its mandate of managing the national electricity grid and wheeling bulk power nationwide. Here are the headlines. Federal Executive Council approves critical power transmission projects. NGPIC seeks support from TCN to develop transmission infrastructure. We have a special report on power transmission lines encroachment areas in Abuja and what the officials of TCN say about these. I am Amara Agugoisi, and this is the Power Circuit. The Federal Executive Council, FEC, has approved critical power transmission projects for the Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN. The Minister of Power, Engineer Saleh Maman, who presented the project memos for approval at the recent FEC meeting, said they were for the improvement of the power transmission grid in the country.
The Minister of Power, Engineer Saleh Maman, who briefed State House correspondents on the outcome of the FEC meeting presided by President Muhammadu Buhari, said the approved contracts include those for the procurement of power transformers and vital spare parts for maintenance of the transmission grid.
The Executive Council today approves 6 memos under Ministry of Power. The first one is the award of the contract for design, manufacturing and supply of critical spare parts for chromosomes grapes 330 kV, 132 kV, and 33 kV circuit breakers. And the second one is the award of the contract for the procurement of 50 sets of 400 AH battery banks, 30 to 50 volts, and 30 number of 110 volts battery chargers for the substation used by the TCN.
Engineer Maman further said a memo for the approval of isolator devices for TCN substations was also approved.
And the third award of the contract is for the procurement of 50 sets also of 132 kV isolators for the TCN delivery period of 6 months. And the fourth one is the award of the contract for the design, manufacturing and the supply of 360/66 MVA 132 kV power transformers with accessories and 15 number of 500 kV transformers, 33.415 kV earthing transformers. And the fifth one is the award of the contract for the design, supply and installation of optical ground wire OPGW and universal optical transportation network system OTA for some critical transmission line, the delivery period of 12 months.
A contract for the procurement and installation of 100 MVA power transformer at the 132-33 kV Ogba transmission substation in Lagos was also approved by the FEC meeting to be delivered in 6 months.
The last one is the upward review of the contract sum for the design, manufacture, supply, installation and commissioning of 1 by 100 MVA 132/33 kV power transformers at Urban Transmission Substation, Lagos.
The minister also assured that the projects, when completed, will help the Transmission Company of Nigeria improve on its efficiency and reliability on the national power grid.
The Nigeria Gas and Power Investment Company, NGPIC, a subsidiary of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, is seeking the support of the Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN, in developing transmission infrastructure that would evacuate the electricity that would be generated from the proposed power plants to be sited in Abuja, Kaduna, and Kano. Here is a report on this.
The Managing Director of the Nigeria Gas and Power Investment Company, NGPIC, Dr. Salihu Jamari, made this known when he led his team on an official visit to the corporate headquarters of TCN at the powerhouse in Abuja recently. He said, "We need TCN support so that we can develop infrastructure and get our money off the grid." According to him, the NGPIC has a mandate to add about 5,000 megawatts of electricity to the national grid through the Strategic Grid Power Initiative. This is under a joint venture arrangement and independent power plants IPP in Abuja, Kano, and Kaduna with installed capacity of 1,350 megawatts, 1,350 megawatts, and 900 megawatts respectively. Dr. Jamari also explained that several meetings had been held with the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission (NEC) and the Nigerian Bulk Electricity Trader (NBET) on the processes for a power purchase agreement (PPA). He, however, added that NGPIC needed to collaborate with TCN for the evacuation of power to the grid, as well as to identify eligible customers willing to take the power. In his remarks, the acting managing director and chief executive officer of TCN, Engineer Sule Ahmed Abdulaziz, commended NGPIC for the initiative as he assured the theme of TCN's commitment in actualizing the said objective. He said the National Grid Expansion Program (NGEP), which entailed revamping the transmission infrastructure and evacuation of power generated from all IPPs, was in line with the objectives of the NGPIC. Engineer Abdulaziz added that with the introduction of the Service Level Agreement (SLA) by NEC for TCN and the distribution companies DISCOs, he was hopeful that all hands would be on deck to revamp and improve the power sector, and TCN was ready to wield the power generated with the infrastructure in place. The Executive Director Transmission Service Provider (TSP) at TCN, Engineer Victor Adewumi, reaffirmed TCN's commitment to bulk power evacuation from all power generating stations, NGPIC gas plants inclusive. The Executive Director Independent System Operations (ISO) at TCN, Engineer Mamman Lawal, emphasized the need for synergy within the system and urged for a holistic view of the sector to identify and find solutions to lapses in the system.
The power circuits will continue after this break.
Do not build under transmission power lines for your safety and health. Electricity power lines and substations, either for power transmission or power distribution services, are extremely dangerous when exposed to direct human contact. These power lines and substations transmit electricity that lights up our homes and offices, power our computers, TVs, and refrigerators. On the other hand, the same electricity when exposed is extremely dangerous. It can shock, electrocute, and kill anyone on its way. That is why everyone must adopt safety measures whenever we use or are close to electricity facilities like power lines or substation or transformers. For the safety of the people and animals, governments all over the world have approved way leave or right-of-way of 50 meters for 330 kV power lines and 30 meters for 132 kV power lines, and for 33 kV lines the way leave is 15 meters. People are not expected to be found within this way leave or right-of-way for safety reasons. The lines can suddenly cut and fall to the ground with very disastrous consequences such as fire and electrocution of anybody and destruction of anything, be it vehicle, houses or vegetation on its line. It has also been established that power lines and substation emit electromagnetic fields, EMF, which is dangerous to human health. The World Health Organization, WHO, has warned that people who spend long hours under or close high tension lines stand the risk of being affected by EMF and be vulnerable to cancer, leukemia in children, miscarriages among pregnant women, and other terrible diseases. It is therefore advisable not to build any structure or operate any business under or near any electricity high tension lines or substations. TCN wants you to stay alive, stay safe, stay healthy, avoid power lines. This message is from the Management of Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN.
The Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN, has been flagging areas where power transmission lines and transmission stations right-of-way, as well as property, have been encroached on across states in the 6 geopolitical zones. Today's spotlight is on such encroachments across a number of areas in Abuja. TCN urges you and all other stakeholders in the Nigerian dream to collaborate in tackling this menace, which has health and safety implications and could affect the efficient delivery of power supply to Nigerians.
Guzape district is a rising hybrid area in Abuja, Nigeria's capital city. The Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN, has a 132 kV high tension transmission line route passing through the district from the 330 132 kV Katampe transmission station and terminating at the 132 33 kV Apo transmission substation. Despite the clear marking of the route with the overhead power transmission, there are still conspicuous encroachments of the right-of-way of power infrastructure. An Officer 2, System Lines Department at TCN, Engineer Abel Iwodi, spoke about this at the spot of an encroached area in Guzape.
For the long time now, the government has been preaching and publishing under the high tension where people build houses, people plant trees, and the danger in it. We don't want a situation that people will live under the high tension like as this house is. It's enclosed to the power line. And if there is anything that happen under the power line, they will not be safe.
Engineer Iwodi further highlighted the dangers of living close to a power transmission line.
If anything happened to this tower and the tower fall, you discover that it will stop all the business of the day. People will not have light and a lot of things, so on and so forth like that. There is a lot of places that all these kind of things are built. All this building, farming, and other encroachments in a lot of places.
Just bordering Guzape is the Asokoro district of Abuja, where similar encroachments of the 132 kV power transmission line right-of-way was observed. Engineer Iwodi said a barricade was raised by TCN some years back to prevent trucks from ramming into the transmission line tower, as an accident involving a truck affected one of the towers on the line route in the place. Lugbe town is about a 20-minute drive from the Abuja city center. The axis also has multiple 132 kV power transmission line routes connecting the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, and from the 330 132 kV Gwagwalada transmission station within the FCT to the 132 33 kV Kukwaba and Apo transmission substations in Abuja. The TCN crew also observed several infractions along the transmission line route. A particular spot was turned to mechanic workshops directly under the power line, with traders going about their business freely by the roadside, as another section of the area has been turned to a marketplace. Still within this area, a water tank dealer found a spot to display his ware with a transmission line tower serving as support for his business. More mechanics and a cement dealer are now the hosts in this area. The encroachments, which span a lengthy distance of the transmission line's route, have shanties occupied by residents believed to be hawkers, mechanics, and other artisanal workers. A particular area, the base of TCN Power Transmission Tower, has become a beehive of activities by the encroachers. This is Papi, a suburb near Maitama district in Abuja, where multiple power transmission lines spring through. However, the power transmission infrastructure has been affected by the encroachment of the transmission line right-of-way by residents and artisanal workers in the suburb. This is spots on the line route dominated by mechanics who do not care about the hazard and safety implications of doing business under the power transmission line, including using the tower base as a parking lot. One of the mechanics spoke to the power circuit crew. Mr. Kayode Dare has been working under this transmission line route for years and is aware of the threat of danger.
Yes, it is dangerous because why? We don't have any option. That's why we are still pleading. If government can make a good place for us, there is no any space in around there in which you will stay. That's what will come and disturb you. So we are still pleading, we are begging. If government can just come and help us for a good place that will not be under high tension, we'll be very happy with that.
The Dawaki and Dutse Alhaji Aziz in the Buhari Area Council of FCT is another area with massive rights-of-way violations of the multiple power transmission line route. There is a 330 kV power transmission line that connects from the 330 132 kV Shiroro transmission station in Niger State to the 330 132 kV Katampe transmission station in Abuja. There is also the 132 kV power transmission line from the Katampe station to the 132 kV Kubwa transmission substation in the FCT. These critical power assets are faced with threats of encroachment by residents, artisanal workers, and business operators, mostly block industries, especially around the Dawaki area. Around the Dutse Alhaji Aziz, there are trenches dug near the base of the towers on the transmission line route. While others make it a place for refuse dump by the residents, this is already affecting the pillar stand of a tower under the transmission line route as it is exposed to flood. More so, residential houses and makeshift shops compete with the power transmission lines on a way leave that has been exclusively preserved for the federal government for the transmission of bulk power. The Assistant General Manager Transmission in Abuja sub-region of TCN, Engineer Musa Shuaibu, further emphasized on the effects of this encroachment of power transmission lines in Abuja. In an interview with the Power Circuit, he explained that TCN often carries out a transparent process for obtaining a right-of-way for power transmission line routes, including compensating affected persons.
There's a department, they call it Way Leave Department in the TCN headquarters. They will go together with the legal team, meet those people concerned, will evaluate what will be affected by the right of way. And there's a standard payment made to those people concerned. So every other person that is affected is being compensated adequately. If you are being compensated, it is expected that you should vacate that place. But you know how we human beings behave. Some want to have double edge. If you collect money, you are being compensated, but they go ahead and still remain there, maybe causing troubles or whatever it is.
Engineer Shuaibu also explained the distance that is legally required to be maintained away from power lines right of way.
In TCN, we have 330, 132 transmission lines. For a 330 transmission line, the standard distance is 50 meters. That is both ways. The transmission line is, you have 25 meters from the center, left, 25 meters to the right. That is, if you have to erect any structure, it should be 25 meters away from both sides. That is the allowable distance for the 330. Then for the 132 is 30 meters. That is 15 meters apart. But today you see people violating that law. Someone will even come to this point of building the structures too close to the line. Some are even walking directly under the line, which is not too good.
There are implications of these right-of-way violations which can be prevented only if the legal right-of-way distance requirements are observed by people near power transmission line routes.
There are a lot of dangers. There are a lot and lots of dangers. By the time you build a house very close to transmission line, when there's this issue of radiation, then there are issues of cable snapping, though we hardly have them now, because most times the linesmen used to go around to be checking from tower to tower. If there's anything that is happening, they will know. But you know, these are things that are mechanical equipment that can fail at any time. If any cable should snap, yes, we have protection on the line, but they are heavy conductors. When they land on the ground, you should know what it is. The impact alone is enough to damage so many things.
He said TCN is collaborating with development control agencies like the one under the Federal Capital Development Authority, FCDA, in Abuja to evacuate the encroachers. It does this too across the states and also sensitize people about the dangers of staying under the power lines right of way.
There are places that we go, when we see them, we talk to them. Some, they agree. That is especially the people staying directly under the line. So most of the people you see directly under the line are all these traders in block industries and whatever have you. So we tell them. And if anybody is close to the line or who has encroached, we used to involve the development control of FCDA and tell them, look, this man is on our line, right of way. Maybe they call the person into order and tell him move away from this line. And in most cases, places like this, you see that they don't have maybe right of title for their land or whatever it is. So they're moving immediately. And you should know human being, we want to resist. So when they are going there, they normally go with security personnel to chase them out of that place.
You have seen the various encroachments of power transmission lines and have heard from officials of the Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN, on the dangers of these. You can do your best to stay away from power lines and also sensitize others in your neighborhood about the dangers and effects of the encroachment of the right-of-way of power transmission lines. Before wrapping up this edition, here are the highlights. You heard that the Federal Executive Council has approved critical power transmission projects. NGPIC, the gas company of NNPC, seeks support from TCN to develop transmission infrastructure. We also brought to you a special report on power transmission lines encroachment areas in Abuja and what officials of TCN say about the danger and effects of these violations. It's a good deal having you always on the Power Circuit program of the Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN. We have made available this episode and all others on the TCN YouTube channel. You can keep your views and comments coming on these platforms as you sustain your collaboration with TCN in delivering on its mandates. TCN wishes you the best always. Also keep following the coronavirus prevention protocol. I am Amara Agugesi. Have a good time.